Good morning, everyone. So this morning I want to talk to you about innovation and moving forward throughout the federal government in the newer technologies. And so I have this presentation, there we go, called What If? And so as I start, before I really dig into the presentation, I want to take you on a little bit of a journey. So I want you to first imagine what your day is like when you first walk into the office. You know, for me, I walk into my office, I touch the light and determine how bright I want the light to be. Make it a little bit dimmer because I don't like those fluorescent lights overhead. I walk over to my little ventilation system. I turn on the heat right now because it's cold. I adjust it. You know, how hot do I want it to be? I then walk over to my computer, which I have two monitors, big monitors sitting on my desk, blocking me. I can't see people when they walk in my office, and they can't see me. Sometimes that's good though, right? And I log in, you know, with my CAT card, my PIV card, and I sit and I wait for it to churn, you know, and then I finally open it, and then I'm like, okay, what emails do I have? I have to make sure it syncs to my iPhone, my work iPhone. And I'm like looking at it, and I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm rolling through emails, and then I have to say, where are all the emails from my supervisor? Because I know she's already been in the office since 6 a.m., so she's probably sending me things. So I recategorize all my emails, I go through the search, I re-click it, and then I start looking for some of the other initiative things with deadlines, et cetera. So I go back through my emails, I re-establish it, et cetera. So for me, that's what my day looks like when I first walk in the office. I go to my calendar, I look and see, oh my God, I'm supposed to be at Hotel Monaco. I better hurry up and get in a car, get my buttons over here, and make sure I'm not late, etc. That's how my day now currently looks when I walk in the office. So now I want to take you through a different scenario. So I want you to imagine you walk into your office, you walk up to your door, you touch your thumb to the door, it opens. You walk in, you say, I like the name Vicky, I'll tell you why in a minute. And say, Vicky, turn on the lights to 70%. Thank you, Andrea. Good morning. Vicky, what meetings do I have this morning? Andrea, you're supposed to be at Hotel Monaco by 8:40. Thank you. Do I have a meeting with my boss? Yes, you put a meeting on your calendar at 8 a.m. this morning. I want to walk in. I don't want any monitors on my desk. I can walk in and I have a smart glass. My computer system is in smart glass. I'm touching, I'm moving things around. I can tell it what temperature I want it to be. I can say, Vicky, can you move it to 68 degrees in here? I'm actually a little too hot. Can you change the temperature? Yes, Andrea, I'll change the temperature. I go out to a meeting, I come back, Vicky, it's too cold in here. Can you change it to 72? Yes, Andrea, I'll change it to 72. In my home right now, I can actually do that. I can actually drive and tell my Siri, can you send a text message to so-and-so? Siri, can you send an email to so-and-so? I cannot do that right now at work, but we're going to get there. So I want you to imagine that scenario as we move forward through this presentation, kind of have an open mind of how can we change in our workspace and our work environment into the newer technologies. So imagine smart, and then I have XXX afterwards because the sky's the limit, right? So currently right now, we're looking at smart cities. So think about the movie iRobot. How many of you have seen iRobot? Yes, okay. In iRobot, the city is controlled by artificial intelligence, in a particular company, a positronic brain that tells the planes when to fly, it operates the cars, it operates all the robots in the city. I'm not sure if we're going to get robots walking down our streets so soon, but imagine the scenario through iRobot. Smart parks. So currently I work for the Department of Interior, and we have many, many national parks that we're responsible for. So guess what? We're looking at picking one of them to determine if we want to make it a smart park. So what would that look like? Well, kind of think a little bit of the movie Jurassic Park without all of the dinosaurs. They had all the cars that could roam around. They had facial recognition when you walked into certain facilities. You could, walk around and it could tell you at electronic signs, where you are located in the park, what types of scenery are available for you to see. Also, think about another movie called Tomorrowland if you want something a little more fun. We're looking at smart airports, smart cars. Some of you already have a smart car. I can tell you, even though mine is not the top of the line smart car, my car actually tells me when I've been driving too long and I need to stop and take a break and get some coffee. I swear to you, a little coffee thing comes on and says, you need coffee. I'm like, oh my God, this is so crazy. We're looking at smart buildings. So a while back, we were looking at green buildings, and we're still looking at green buildings, but we're also looking at smart buildings. So we're looking at rewiring the infrastructure in buildings so that we can have the temperature controls, so that we can have the systems where you can walk in and speak to the lighting and speak to the temperature and speak to establishing meetings and so forth. So we're looking at smart buildings, looking at smart malls, for shopping. Think of the movie Minority Report. If you've seen that movie, you walk in, it facial recognizes you and says, hey, guess what? I know you like this stuff over here and it's on sale. I know some of you may or may not like that. I'm a huge shopping person. That would work for me completely. I like to shop more in the malls than online. So I'm sorry, I'm a go in person type of person. Okay, and then we're looking at smart classrooms. So imagine your kids actually learning a little bit differently in the classroom that has holograms or that has smart glass technology. For smart glass, again, for teaching, I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Time Machine, but there's a scene in there where there's a big holographic glass. It's touch, you can talk to it, and it has all the history. So think all of Wikipedia, all of the internet, all of everything loaded into this smart holographic smart glass. By the way, if you haven't seen these movies, I'm giving you a list of things to watch. And we're looking at smart hospitals. We actually have some hospitals now that use robots for surgery. They use holograms for teaching in the med school, in the medical field. And so we're actually moving in that direction. So basically, what is our vision in the federal government? What is my vision at DOI? So I want to maximize our innovation in all of our lines of business. So as was told to you earlier, I'm currently responsible for grants and acquisitions and finance and budget and property and small business and suspension debarment and a host of other things. But what I would like to do is I would like to look at all of those different lines of businesses, find out where they all integrate, find out where we can develop chatbots, where we can actually, instead of typing in a search or picking up a help desk call, picking up the call to help desk, I can actually ask my system, hey, I'm having problems with this particular thing. Can you help me? And it says, sure, Andrea. What else would you like? And it can give me the host of things and answers to the questions that it's already been trained and programmed to provide answers to. I want to look at where we can put artificial intelligence in. In some scenarios, we're already looking. We have a financial system already with SAP. So we're already looking at where we can include artificial intelligence into our finance and accounting system. But we're also looking at all of our other systems that we have where we can actually train an AI to look behind the system, to look at how we're entering in our information, to look at how we're doing the business processes and putting in the fields or doing the cost analysis or whatever it is, picking out terms and conditions, picking out requirements, etc. It's looking at those things and it's telling us, are we actually using the best option? And it can speak back to us, whether it speaks audibly or whether it speaks in a language, in text. It can actually tell us there may be other options available to you because it's an artificial intelligence. It's smart. It's machine learning. It can actually do predictive analysis. It can actually tell us that might not be the best option. Maybe it'll tell us you left out a term and condition. 99% of your contracts have these terms and conditions and this one's missing. So it just caught an error. Maybe in finance, it can actually tell us where the anomalies are in our accounting transactions. Maybe it might tell me we have way too many on top adjustments. And because it does predictive analysis, it can tell us where we can actually fix some of that. So we're looking at putting artificial intelligence into our systems. We're also looking at smart glass. I mentioned to you that I love my monitors, but I hate my monitors. I love right now that I have two, that was a newer technology. You could swish everything back and forth between screens. But what I really would like at this point is the smart surface glass. I won't name which vendor actually has that already. But it would be really awesome to have it. It could be on my conference table. People come in, you can flip things around. It's all touch. So I think that would be really, really cool. And I implore you to look into that technology. Because our team is looking into it. And about robotics process automation, I really want to take a minute to brag on 3 pilots that we have going on in Interior with regard to contract closeouts, where we are currently using robotics process automation. So basically, if you're not familiar with that, you look at those types of business processes that are repetitive, and you train the bot, which is an automated bot that's in the system, to actually do those particular processes without any further intervention. Now, the really great thing about the process robotics is that it doesn't need a supervisor. I mean, we'll be watching, we'll make sure it doesn't go haywire, but it doesn't need a supervisor. It can work 24/7. It doesn't need benefits, and we can put hundreds of them on certain tasks that we were taking years to get done. For instance, we were taking a while to get our contracts closed out. So now it's like, we're shocked. We're like, oh my God, now what? All the contracts are closed out. This is great, So now we're looking at where else maybe use this technology. Can we use it in grants closeouts? Can we use it in other audit closeouts, audit resolution? So we're looking at where else can we use that technology that's working really well for us on the contract side. Regarding blockchain, so definitely we can have the ability to use distributed ledger technology, which is our blockchain, not in the form, we haven't been using it in the form of a Bitcoin, if you will, but we have been looking at it and using it in other departments across the government with regard to acquisition processing. So how do you actually retain information on a specific acquisition or parts of an acquisition, and how do we lock it in so that it's never changed and that any amendment to that stays in the system and we all have access to it, and then it can link very quickly to another part of the process that also will have information that will be in perpetuity, and we can watch any amendments to that and so forth. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing of blockchain, but it's a very, very secure methodology that we have been looking into and we have been using in other federal agencies in the government. And then what about holograms? So I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier already that we have the ability currently in our technology to have freestanding holograms that could be standing right here on stage with me and having an interactive discourse. We have the ability to have it in a glass, in a smart glass, and I think that would be really awesome for helping us do inside coaching, executive coaching, teaching. Sometimes we say we want to do online teaching, we want to do webinars, etc. But can you imagine having a smart glass that you can actually talk to and interact with, and it will help you learn things? You could do that. It can, if it's an artificial intelligence, if it has that capability, it can learn you. It can learn where your weaknesses are and where your strengths are, and it can provide additional information. It could be multi-curriculum. So maybe you are logging in to the Smart Glass hologram coach for financial management training, but it also wants to give you some leadership development as well. So there's many things that we're looking at, and we're very, very, very excited. And so what we're doing at DOI is we're starting a project. We've actually already started it. It's called the Use Case Project. So basically, we're looking at all of the lines of businesses that are currently under me, and I'm sure it'll expand after we lock down numerous use cases for every aspect of the business process. So basically, how are we doing that? And in doing so, we are we know that this is going to become a part of our change management schema, because what we want to do is, by having this use case project, we're pulling people in from the bottom. So we're looking at our operations people, and they're on the teams, and they're looking at all of our business processes across the board, and they do this day in and day out. They have specific projects, specific things that they award the grants, they award the contracts, they do our financial accounting, they do our internal controls, they handle our risk management, they know, they develop our risk mitigation strategies, et cetera. Well, why not have them on these teams that are developing our use cases? And so one of the ways that we're doing that is we are looking at, and here's where you get a double for your money with internal controls. We've developed the walkthroughs and the business process narratives and the flow diagrams already for internal controls for every line of business. So what we're doing is we're looking at that. We're looking at every point in the business to determine, can we put a bot in? Can this be enhanced by artificial intelligence? Can we get some better data than what we're currently getting out of this? Can we have interactive data that we never thought to have interact before? Right now, we have certain things that are still in manual processes. So now we've got to get them into the system, out of the paper file folders, right? We still have that going on in 2019, going into 2020. It's a very, very exciting time. And everyone's very, very excited. So this is part of our change management, is bringing people in from the operational level, along with the leadership, and having them work together on these use cases. And I have already gotten more than 100 use cases, you guys. I put it out and I gave them a month, and they started coming in with the use cases after 2 weeks. That's pretty cool. I was shocked. I mean, I was like, oh my God, they're really into this. So this is going to be really, really good. What I hope to do is to put it in a compendium and, of course, clear it through our executive leadership and our communications office, and then put it out for other agencies to use as well or to look at, so that we can all share best practices or in ideologies on where we could possibly put in new innovative technologies into our business processes. I have a hand.
Thank you. I'm Jay Nash with SB. I guess I'm sort of a little concerned being a finance person. Where's the money come from? And I say this with all due respect, because I used to audit TCA, and FAR is a big thing. I don't know what agency, there's money you have, low bid, and my big objection, because of the thought process, is that you end up getting an inferior product. In order to get a superior product from Rolls-Royce, there's a cost associated. So the question is, with the depths that we have, with Steve going on, how, I mean, it's all wonderful. I think that's fantastic. And I just recently bought a car. When I came into the office, the business office, and everyone was on his desk, and I'm looking down, this button, press that button, bam. But there's a cost associated. So I raised the question, how do we pay for this?
Thank you. So his question, if you can't hear him, basically is that we know the technologies are costly, and how are we going to pay for it? Once we figure out what the costs are going to be for the business processes, or to implement a pilot use case, or even moving forward into permanent status, how do we pay for this? So I am a huge, huge proponent of cost neutrality, meaning you look at where you're currently paying costs, and you determine where can we cut that cost, because we no longer need this particular business process because it's now going to be taken over by this robotic process. And so what's going to be the cost avoidance between the two, and where else can we garner other cost savings and we move those costs into the new system? So very, very much so, you do have to take a very good look at your cost accounting, and you have to determine where those fixed costs are and where those non-fixed costs are. And then you can look at where you can reduce the non-fixed costs and slide them over to pay for the technology. So I'm a huge, huge proponent of that. I'm not saying that you may not ask for money off the top. You know, in a request, in a budget request, you may say, we need $500,000 for a pilot, and maybe you're not going to do that cost neutrality analysis initially for the pilot. But while you're doing that pilot and you're trying to determine what the actual cost would be for implementation, I really think accounting-wise, you should be looking at your current costs for your current systems. You should be looking at all of your Exhibit 300s for you federal people. You should be looking at where you can, maneuver the costs, and where you can eliminate certain other costs in certain areas and move those costs over to your newer technology. So definitely, we've done it that way, and I really would propose that. Yes.
Just a follow-up, and just a suggestion for anybody in any agency organization. When you're involved in a new capital improvement project, please go to your end users, the people that are on the grounds with the booths, because they need to give you the feedback to say.
Oh, definitely.
And I've been very, in my years of federal service, state government service, invariably, it's the low staff that gets shunned, and they're the people that are really the line producer of products.
Yes, so
They need to be first.
thank you. So you called them the end users. His suggestion is to make sure you have the end users and the line users involved, and I call them the operations staff. So definitely they are involved, and they're on the working groups, and they're the ones developing the use cases. So you're absolutely right. We're 100% in agreement. So, oh, sure. Okay. Okay, thank you. So the next thing is we're needing to do an assessment on what is inherently governmental. We have in many other lines of business already done that, but I think we need to dig a little deeper, because as we put bots in place and as we look to put artificial intelligence in place, there are going to be certain functions that we don't want to be process robotic. We want it to stay inherently governmental and inherently human, is the newer technological phrase, if you will, as we move forward in some of these advanced technologies. So we make sure that we keep boundaries around the processes and the artificial intelligence, that it's going to be self-learning. It continues to learn, but we make sure that we have that proper oversight where it needs to be with regard to inherently governmental. In addition to that, we're needing to train people. So we were already facing a challenge where we needed to just train people in general with regard to their line of business and trying to find the best courses, for instance, for grants, or the best courses for acquisitions, or we were trying to determine, even after they get certified in certain levels, did they really have the right skill sets and the right competencies? Do we need additional training in certain other areas? So now we have to add technological training to our list of training endeavors, because now we need people to understand what's the best. We can put a technology in, but if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to be very beneficial, right? So, I mean, if my car is telling me pull over for coffee and I'm like sick of looking at that thing, how do I turn it off? You know, how do I tell it, leave me alone, I'm not stopping. You know, I'm going to keep going to my destination, and it keeps popping up, coffee, pull over. I'm like, no, and I'm yelling at the car. How do you turn it off? So I obviously didn't get the proper training from the dealership on how to make it stop so that I can feel like I can continue on with my journey. Basically, we want to make sure that our staff gets the appropriate training. So again, I spoke to you already about, chatbots being coaches, executive coaches, et cetera. We're looking at that for real-time training, as well as other methodologies such as like smart glass, et cetera, that has an AI built into it that you can actually talk to and interact with and so forth. And again, many of these things are currently available. I'm not proposing that we have to go out and build anything, because it's already there. You use some of it already in your personal life. We're just trying to figure out, how can we change our work environment? How can we make it better, happier, friendly, fun? How can we change it while maximizing the innovation that's already accessible to us? And then with regard to risk management. So with this new technology, we get new risks, right? We get new security risks that we have to look out for. We have other vulnerabilities that we may not even know about because it's new technology. So while we're tearing apart the business processes and we're tearing apart the new internal controls, we have to also identify the risks that are going to be inherent to these new processes and to these new technologies. The risks associated with hacking, because everything's more electronic. So now we have to really knuckle down and figure that out. But one of the great things about the technology is we can use AI to help us with that too. We can use artificial intelligence. So I really wanted to come to you this morning and put these all before you, put this vision before you, and have you imagine what your new work life would be. The sky's the limit when you walk into your office, because I'm seriously looking forward to telling my lights to turn on and dim down, and having the temperature controlled, and actually finding out if my boss put a meeting on without me running around and having to get to my computer, and having the computer maybe do facial recognition and a thumbprint, and I don't have to look for my CAT card. I don't have to figure out where it is. I'm looking forward to, holographic meetings and a person who can stand here and chat with me through hologram. I'm looking forward to the future. And I just wanted to put that out there before you. So as we look to innovation and moving forward with our technology and our different business processes, that we can all kind of stay on the same page and help each other out and share use cases and share learned experiences and best practices. So with that, I am actually finished. And here is my contact information if you want to send me additional questions, or if you just want to chat, or you want to do a group project together, look at collaborating. I would love to work with you, and trust me, my staff is seriously happy about moving in this direction, and so they would love to work with you as well.